You know what time it is? It's mime time. Oh, baby, good gravy. Welcome to another episode of Mime Time, episode 11. It is Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. And I just want to share this little story about this time that I got tested for coronavirus. Dun, dun, dun. On a particularly busy week, I went into work at my part time job and I went into the bathroom before the start of my shift. And the thing is, for a couple of days, my eyes had been irritating me. And I rubbed my eyes out, at the sink, and I blew my nose, and in like 5 to 10 minutes, my eyes were still itchy, and like I was still blowing my nose, and I was like crying, and like snot was running down my nose. I know this is very pleasant for you to hear, but in the course of like 10 minutes, I was like kind of okay to like just being like flush red, and I was like, I gotta start work in like a few minutes, and like I'm sick now all of a sudden, and the environment these days, the climate these days is, if you're sick at work, that doesn't look good at all, as you might imagine in this day and age, especially in Seoul, South Korea. So I go into the workroom and I tell my supervisor, like, I think I'm sick, I need to go right now. So I'm trying not to freak out, and I don't really think at the time that I really had coronavirus, but I just thought, like, what if I did, so anyways, my supervisor was cool, and I just bounced out and I got in a taxi and I went home as straight as I could and just chill at home. And I called my other supervisor and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get tested at the hospital tomorrow. It's probably fine, blah blah blah." But it was like a lot of pressure because at that company, if one person at that building that the company is in, gets tested, then the whole building gets shut down, right? And then that's like not just me, but 12 other coworkers who can't work anymore, right? For a lot of us, this is the only job that we have available. Pre-coronavirus days, maybe we had like different gigs going on. I certainly had more work going on, but since the coronavirus, a lot of our work has been reduced. So like I just feel like that's a lot of pressure, if you're the one who gets sick and goes into a company office and then the whole building gets shut down, right? That's like a nightmare situation because people can't work, and then how are they going to get money, blah blah blah. So the next day, this was a Thursday night when I was sick, and then I just went home immediately. Friday, the next day, I take a shower and I go to the hospital. I go to Suncheonhyang in Suncheonhyang University Hospital, and they have like these tents set up. So for those of you who don't know, yeah, they have these tents set up, and you just write down a form, you fill out a form to these people who are wearing like suits and was it the hazmat looking suits or whatever. And I just sat there, and I went into a tent and I said, yeah, like I probably just have allergies, bad allergies, because the previous night when I started getting really sick, I realized, like this has happened before. This is probably not coronavirus because the previous year around this time, I had like the same symptoms. It's probably like allergies, and also don't do this. Don't keep wearing 1 day contact lenses like me. Don't be an idiot, please. Or if you're gonna do it, just like make sure it's really clean. I think my contact lenses just got dirty, and also timed with like not having solid sleep for a few days, overworking myself, getting stressed out over all the things that I have to do, plus, allergies. I think this messed with my sinuses and my eye contact. So like I got sick all of a sudden in the course of a day. Anyways, so I told this to the doctor, and they said, okay, well, you probably don't have coronavirus because you don't have the symptoms, right? But the thing is, I heard that when you go get this test, and it costs like about $20, by the way, like 21,501 or whatever. So I got tested, and well, I sat down inside like this makeshift tent or whatever, and one of the guys tested my temperature, and the other guy, he just said, okay, so you have these symptoms, you have, was it like a stuffy nose, and but you didn't have a headache or anything. I was like, no, like it's probably just allergies. I was like, okay. And he was like, you probably just have allergies. We're just gonna just like have you go to the Anqua, the eye doctor clinic inside the hospital, as well as the ENT clinic inside the hospital. And then so I left. I was a little confused. And here, and bear in mind, like my Korean's not that great. So when I read documents and forms, or when I listen to people, I try to be as attentive as I can. But that doesn't mean the message always gets across. So I go inside the hospital. Well, first I pay at the POS. I pay for the examination. It's like $20, and then I have to go inside the hospital to get tested by the eye doctor and the ear doctor, and like that's something separate. So then I'm still like confused. Like, wait, aren't they supposed to do a swab test? Like, not just take my temperature? Okay, so here's the whole point of the story. I go to the hospital, getting tested for coronavirus, and I want a definite yes or no, right? This is my expectation of going to the hospital to get tested for coronavirus, because I've heard from someone else that, they paid the same amount, about $20, and then they did a whole swab test, and then they texted him the results the next day. So I was hoping for something similar. I go inside, and the ENT doctor, he puts this thing up my nose and is like, "Oh, your sinus is swollen, blah blah blah," and it's like, "Okay, here, like here's a prescription. Go to the pharmacy and buy this." And I'm just like, "This has nothing to do with coronavirus, right?" So I go around so I go to the pharmacy, and I get the medicine, um, and I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm ripped off, right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. I go to a hospital expecting to get tested and like have a swab test, right? Like they, saliva on a cotton swab or whatever, and then, they test my DNA or whatever, right? Because I don't know how this works, right? I'm not a virologist, and I'm not a doctor, so I felt ripped off. I'm just like, aren't you supposed to like swab this, But anyways, the point being there is like this really bothered me. So I was like complaining to my supervisor. I was complaining to, different friends, and I was just like, what's like, why did I pay $20? Like I knew that these were like allergy symptoms. The whole point of me going to the hospital is so that they can give me a firm yes or no and do the cotton swab test, right? This is just my expectation. And I want to share this experience with you because um, you know, it doesn't matter what my expectation is, or if reality, or just like whatever the social situation is, turns out differently from what I expected. I have to learn to make peace with it. I have to learn to be cool with it. And actually, it's just situations like this, living in Korea, when like I go to a hospital or like a government office or some institution, some shop, some store, I'm talking with Korean people. And my Korean isn't that great. So whenever I talk with people and there's like a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, my childhood trauma comes out, like with my parents. It's so stupid, but this is just me, part of me growing up. This is part of me just learning to accept reality for what it is, learning to just forgive myself and forgive people, and just come to peace with all that, everything that is. The hospital wasn't trying to screw me over. They're probably doing a great job. I want to think that Korea in general is doing a great job in terms of, containing the coronavirus outbreak, and, everyone's just trying to be, safety minded and health oriented and whatever. And as you might imagine, it's probably not that very good allocation of resources. It's probably a terrible allocation of resources if they actually did do that cotton swab test with everybody who thought that they might have coronavirus. Because I've known doctors for years, and they will and some of them complain about just the amount of hypochondriacs, or like, elderly people, or whoever, who like, before coronavirus, even they would come to the hospital and complain, or be like, oh, like, do I have like some serious disease or whatever, when it's like, man, you can just stay home and just like chill out for a bit, like drink some water, like, don't waste my time. I know doctors who kind of feel this way about their patients. So can you imagine that now in these crazy coronavirus times, when like so many people must have been coming to the hospital, they can't just use these kits or whatever. Part of my ignorance, like I haven't been doing that much research on like how the test actually works, but you know my point being is like, they're doing the best that they can. And I probably don't have the virus, but here's the funny thing. I paid this $20, but I can't know for 100% sure that I didn't have it at the time. Now, 99.9% chance like I didn't have it. And, of course, we should trust the doctor's professional opinion. But, I was just pissed because I felt like, oh, I was ripped off, blah, blah, blah. But then again, going back to just like coming to peace with it and just finding gratitude. Well, at least Korea has a great healthcare system. And if I do end up having something and showing up symptoms, I can always go back and, I'll be taken care of and this and that. So, it's just like I made such a big deal out of something at the time, because it's like, oh, like I don't want I don't think I have coronavirus, but I need a firm yes or no from the hospital so I can tell everyone like I'm okay, so no one like judges me or no one's like freaking out because I got sick. I know like I don't have coronavirus, but I want to go to hospital. I want the hospital to tell me that I don't have it so I can like definitely so I can tell my coworkers and other friends that like I'm okay. And I said this to my coworkers and my supervisor and my other friends, and they're like, yeah, bro, like your doctor's probably right, even though they didn't swab test you, you're probably fine. And I'm just like, okay, I make big deals out of nothing. And and so much of my life is actually like that. I feel like a lot of the stress that is in my life more and more as time goes on, the things that bother me or these little slights that I may perceive about other people, whenever I feel misunderstood or that even though I do my best to communicate, people don't seem to understand me. They don't seem open or willing. Like that's a big challenge for me. What's a big challenge for you, if you're listening to this? Like what really grinds your gears? What gets you all riled up? Because, this is something for me that gets me riled up. It's like when I'm talking to Korean people and there's some kind of miscommunication and I blame it on them for something that happened in my childhood, right? And that thing is kind of insane actually when you think about it, because these people don't know me. But it's just like because they're Korean people and I have this experience and these expectations from Korean people and I have expectations of Korean people since I was a kid. There's these demons that come out, just like when my parents were fighting with each other or arguing with my brothers, and I was just so confused. I did my best as a little baby, surrounded by these giant apes who were, just like arguing with each other because, my parents being adults, and my brothers being 12 and 10 years older than me, and I'm just like, the youngest of five people in my family. Growing up, there's these giant apes just walking around the house, yelling at each other, arguing. It was a very dysfunctional upbringing. And me just be like, guys, can't we all just get along? And then me just trying to, talk to them and communicate best to them. But then like my parents or my brothers, like I felt like they weren't listening to me, and me just taking that all personally, even though looking back, we are all just trying to do the best that we can. And it's not like, while we have our character flaws, it's not like my parents were trying to go out of their way to not teach me Korean. It's not like, they did their best, and actually I want to adopt that, even though if that maybe I might think that that's not true objectively at times. I want to look at them at the best light, and I want to just like do whatever it takes to, for my own selfish reason, to come to peace with the world, with Korean society, with my parents. So, anyways, to get to the point, do I have coronavirus? Probably not. But stay tuned, and I guess you'll find out, right? Because it could be dormant for 2 weeks, and then I find out that someone else around me has it. Maybe I gave it to them. I personally think, look, I don't want to give medical advice or anything like that, but I personally think the chances of me getting it and I don't know, giving it to someone else to the point that they die, I mean, I feel like the chances of doing that are super slim. So, me personally, I'm not that concerned about it. I still use hand sanitizer. I still take the necessary precautions, but like I have to meet people. I have to do this and that. And um, I work at a club, and the club opened up this past weekend. Thanks to South Korea doing such a great job, from everyone from the government officials to the medical professionals and all of the society doing their best to do social distancing, and everyone taking care of themselves and closing down the schools and businesses and whatever. Why not pat ourselves on the back and celebrate? So this past weekend, the club that I've been working at for a few years, Club Boom Bar, a premium hip hop lounge in Itaewon district in the heart of Seoul. We opened up again and it was lit. We had an awesome party on Friday with my personal team, and even Saturday night was really lit. There's just like a bunch of people, all the tables packed, just really good performances, and we hadn't had a weekend like that in months, because it was closed. So let me tell you what's going down this week, because this Thursday is Buchonim Oshinal, which means it's Buddha's birthday. It's a national holiday here in South Korea. Because it falls on a Thursday, that means people are also having Friday off. So that means the club will be open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 nights in a row. I just realized this yesterday. And I have a party, my own team's party, going down at Boom Bar on Friday. So if you're around Seoul, hit your boy Mime Time up and come to the club before 12, okay? And I'll put your name on the guest list. The cover charge is usually 20,000 won, but if you're on my guest list, guess what? You come in for free and we can hang out and I'm going to hook you up with a shot and then we are going to get lit. Oh, yeah. I should really talk more about what it's like to work in the club, especially this hip hop club, Boom Bar, which has been my home for the past several years. It's really just a wonderful place to be every single weekend. For those of you who've been, you know what it's like to get lit, listening to awesome hip hop music, meeting people, dancing, going wild, and having a good time. So you can hit me up on Instagram at mime time or mail me at mime@mimetime.com. I'm also going to start a cheeky little newsletter soon. So when I have that email newsletter sign up available on my website, please go ahead and sign up. And with that, I am actually not going to finish this episode because I still have more things I want to talk about. And that is the whole coronavirus 2020 situation, Mime Time's take on it. So the thing about the coronavirus is that it's a meme, okay? We have this actual thing called the coronavirus, right? These little gremlins, these little microscopic gremlins that go around, causing trouble in our biology and whatnot. Okay, we have this actual thing, the virus, okay? And then we have the meme of the virus, which is actually more viral than the virus itself. You get what I'm saying? Because a meme, like a funny cat picture, for example, is something that spreads quite easily. Like, hey, check out this picture of a funny, cute little cat, in a cheeseburger or something. And then you send this meme, this picture to a bunch of different people. And then some people add their own little, like, Photoshop edits onto it. Maybe they add a cheeseburger hat on top of the cat or whatever. And then, there was all these different mutations. And, a meme is much like a virus like that in that respect. A meme is a virus of the mind. So the meme of the coronavirus itself is infinitely more times greater than the actual virus itself, is what I think, because it's something that's pervaded every aspect of societies around the world at large. And the deeper meme underlying that, the deeper global human spiritual emotion lying under this is fear, right? We have this fear of this virus. This fear causes markets to shut down, causes borders to shut down. And so it's not just the virus itself, but the fear of the virus, that's really messing with our lives and, causing us to lose our jobs and make much less money and worry about the future. So the coronavirus has been a big wake up call for me. Coming from an epic 4 week vacation onwards rolling into 2020, I was living beyond my means for a couple of months. And then when my work started getting canceled and the club shut down a couple months ago, I realized, wow, like I'm making a lot less money now and I have some debts to pay. I have some credit card bills. And the thing is, I've always known the importance of having an emergency fund or like a stack of cash that can keep you going for 6 months to a year. Several important mentors in my life have always warned me about this, like you need to have 6 months to a year of cash that you never touch. It's liquid. It's just something, that could be like $5,000 to $6,000 or something like that. You just keep that under your mattress and you just only use it in absolute emergency. And like over the past couple of years, like I've made a decent amount of money for myself, but I would always spend it, buy meals for friends and go on vacations here and there. And I'm not saying I regret doing most of that stuff, but I wish I was just more prudent about it. I was just too complacent. I was just like, oh, like, I'm making good money, like it's okay. Like if I can't pay off all my credit card bills this month, like I'll be able to pay it off later. That's the trap. That kind of thinking, I'm so ashamed to admit it and to actually be sharing it here with you, but I want to tell this to you guys if there's anyone listening, and if you haven't figured it out already, um, just save up money, right? Save up like 5 Gs or whatever to the point where like you can always have that, and that's something that you never ever touch. Okay, and I'm not lecturing anybody. This is just for me personally. Please learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them. I mean, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Like I'm making money now, and as the coronavirus situation goes down, like I'll have more work spring up again, and like I'll be okay. I'll be much smarter about it this time. So this curse that is the coronavirus, with the market shutting down and work being reduced on a personal level, I realize like I actually have to be super 100,000% grateful that all of this has happened in a way, because it's teaching me to be a man. It's teaching me to be an adult. It's teaching me to take complete inventory of all that I am, my personal character, my financial assets, my time. I realize even more so before coronavirus, because I was hustling. I was trying to do cool things, and I still am doing cool things and trying to make stuff happen, trying to make money. I realized that even more so, like I have to be super lean and efficient. I'm working out regularly. I eat a green smoothie almost every day. I cook at home almost every day. I'm on 27 days of meditation. I published 10 episodes for my podcast. I registered a company in South Korea. As of this month, I'm officially a CEO of a LLC registered in South Korea. Can you believe it? And I have a corporate bank account and this and that, a business license, a tax accountant. I'm doing everything that's within my control, and I'm trying to fire all 8 cylinders at a time. And I'm trying to see what more cylinders I can unlock. I'm listening to the best audiobooks I can. I'm trying to find the best content for marketing, for spiritual development, for anything that can improve my life, anything that can add a 1% increase to any aspect of my life on a day to day basis. I'm trying to do it. I was living my best life before the coronavirus, but now I think I'm even living an even bester life thanks to the coronavirus, because again, it's really forced me to become a better person, to become a superior person, to be a better mime, to be the best version of myself, the besterest version of myself. Maybe not improving my grammar all that much though. I don't want to be limited in my short life by fear. Like this is not a time for me to fear. This is a time for me to be disciplined, and this is an opportunity to see what's in my locus of control. What is within my control? How much money can I save? What can I do to make more money? And I just want to build on this foundation and just tell myself every day, I'm going to make it through this. I'm going to become a better person of this, and I will realize the best version of myself day in and day out. Every cloud has a silver lining. We can appreciate something positive out of any given negative situation. And here we have, I don't know, the mother of all storm clouds, right? The coronavirus. So, what is a corona? And a corona is the gaseous envelope that's illuminated during a solar eclipse. So, you can see a literal golden lining of the sun or a star when there's an eclipse. You can search online for pictures of a stellar eclipse, a stellar corona. It's actually really quite beautiful when you think about it, a stellar corona. So I think of this coronavirus pandemic in 2020 as just like a solar eclipse, actually, because a solar eclipse happens once in a great while, doesn't it? And this pandemic has eclipsed all the concerns of mankind worldwide. In a way, this is the first time this thing has ever happened in human history, right? Because we're so connected with the internet and globalization and whatnot. But at the same time, there have been global plagues in the past. So if we want to see that this pandemic is causing such dark times for humanity, for the markets, people can't find work, people are struggling day in and day out, even more so than they already were. I have to think what is within my locus of control as I see this coronavirus pandemic in 2020, as I see this eclipse that has darkened all of mankind. And, if I want to be dramatic, let's say we are in our darkest hour. So I'm looking at this eclipse, right? This big black circle. And I notice around it, I see the corona. I see the crown. I see that this can be humanity's crowning moment, that this can be my crowning moment, because corona means crown. In our darkest hour of this corona eclipse, we can draw energy and inspiration from the literal golden lining so that when the eclipse fades away, the sun shines again. And that's the beauty of corona. That's the beauty of the stellar gaseous illuminated like crown that surrounds an eclipse, is that it means that there's something bright behind the darkness. They say it's always darkest before dawn. And in the dark night of the soul for all of humanity, the dark night of the soul for all humanity worldwide, I want to see this as an opportunity to us for us to grow and evolve, because this is Mother Nature testing us. The sun will shine again. All humanity can shine. The markets will go up again. The borders will open up again. We have to fight this virus as a species on all fronts. I refuse to go on as helpless victims. Oh, because of Corona, I can't do this, or because of Corona, because I can't do this. Whenever I hear the word coronavirus, whenever I hear Corona, I want to think about the beer. Just kidding. I want to think about how I can see something golden out of this moment. I want to appreciate life for all of its beauty. And so whenever I hear about the coronavirus, whenever I hear or feel that people are down about like not having work or this and that, I'm just going to use that as an opportunity to take stock of everything that I have and to be super grateful for life and all that is beautiful, and to become better at myself and to focus only on that which is within my control, so I don't waste time on holding a victimhood mentality for whatever pains or struggles or perceived injustices against me. I just want to let go of that. I just want to forgive the world. I want to forgive myself. I want to forgive my past self. I want to forgive my family. I want to forgive the world and humanity for whatever perceived injustices it has caused against me personally. And I want to be uplifted with this forgiveness and peace so that I can become a more super efficient, solid human being, so that I can just burn like a 1000% fuel efficient jet fuel, if that makes sense at all. Like, I just want to live with such purity and clarity in my intention, in my heart, in everything that I do, in every single moment. I want to become a superior person. I want to be the best version of myself. And I hope that if you're listening to this, then you find ways to improve on whatever's within your locus of control, and that you make the most out of this situation. Because we might look back in this and we might say in a couple of years, you know what, that wasn't so bad. And, why did I waste my time, like taking pity on myself, or, just complaining about this and that. Like, what was, even now we can look back, like whatever problems we had last year, or whatever issues we were going through a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, back to high school or back to when we were kids, like whatever problems we had then compared to what we're going through now. What was such a big deal? What did I complain about? What was such a big deal about all the things that I went through? And I look back and it's like, I just made things a lot harder for myself because of the attitude that I had, because of the place I was at the time. And so if that's the case then how am I wasting my time now? How am I holding myself back now? And I'm just tired after years of being depressed, after years of holding myself back, of these thoughts that don't help me. Like, oh, you're not good enough. And, no one's ever going to love you. Like, you're never going to find, a woman who loves you. Like, you're always going to mess things up, and you're always going to be miserable because you deserve to be miserable. All these voices, they're just phantoms. They're lies. They're lies that I told myself. I refuse to live a life of fear or to see myself as a helpless victim. And I refuse to see that in the past, I was just a helpless victim. In some ways, even in my past, I sort of chose to be miserable. Maybe you can relate. There have been moments in my life where I chose to remain hateful, or I chose to remain stuck in pain. And one of my great mentors has told me that a lot of humanity is I'll just speak for myself. A lot of my life and my personal suffering has been me just holding a gun to my own head and blaming the world for my problems. And that's what I realize a lot of my past pain has been. So I want to put the gun down. I want to just stop being a victim and just really empower myself so I can become the best version of myself. And that's why, I started this podcast, and that's why you're listening to this. And I hope that you're getting something out of this. This coronavirus has actually been a really good opportunity to just kind of lay low for a bit and stay home, play some video games, cook at home, like become, reflective and think about ways to really make the most out of my time. And really, I feel like in a few years, maybe we'll look back at this and be like, you know what? That wasn't so bad. And we'll be just busy, focused on some other issues of the present moment, whatever issues of the day arise up. And so, with that in mind, I want to just take every day as a blessing, take every day with gratitude and strength. And that's what I'm doing day in and day out. I'm stumbling every day. I make mistakes every day. I'm not a perfect person, but I'm becoming better every day. And just doing stuff like, editing this podcast sometimes, Mime Timers, is a pain. Like just little this and that, or sometimes I'm worried that you guys, didn't want to listen to this podcast just for my sweet, sweet ASMR. Oh yeah. Like there's things that bother me, like lip smacking, like these little noises, these little details, they drive me nuts. And honestly, these things aren't that important. These little pauses or these little imperfections or whenever I say ooh or ah or my production isn't 100% polished as much as I'd like to be, even though like I try really hard. But I can't let that stop me from producing this episode. I can't let that stop me from pushing out content. I have to produce results and then just tell myself that I'm always going to get better. So I hope that you also find the courage to do the same if you're kind of like a perfectionist like me, like, no, this has to be right. And, even then, like, I'm always judging myself. I'm trying to be really hard on myself. I know, like, okay, the good thing is, like, I'm even just pushing this out. So even these little trials and these little things, right? These little walls of resistance in doing what it is that you need to do, right? These excuses that come up, like, oh, like coronavirus, or like, I got this appointment that just came up, or something suddenly came up, so I can't focus. I got to put it off to tomorrow. Got to put it off to tomorrow. Got to put it off. Okay, the next day, next thing. Like I'm tired of putting my life on hold, and I don't want you to be putting on your life on hold just because of the coronavirus. I'm sure you have your legitimate reasons, legitimate excuses or not. I'm going to push forward every day. I'm making a personal vow to myself. I've made a personal vow to myself to do my best every day. And one of my affirmations is I am enthusiastically making substantial progress toward my most important goals every day. And you know what? I think these affirmations are starting to soak deep into my subconscious. And I think these things are working. I think with meditation and all the other 1% increases, having green smoothies, me saving up my money, in time, I'm going to be working on myself so that when the sun shines, I'm going to receive that sunlight. When that eclipse goes away and the corona lining transitions into a bright, glorious sunblast, then it's going to radiate and I'm going to receive all that energy. So let's hustle in this dark hour of the coronavirus. Let's hustle and become amazing receptors of that sunlight so that when it does, so we are becoming sensitive, right? We are appreciating this whatever little light that comes from the edges of the eclipse. Okay, so because our eyes, our spiritual eyes, right, have to become really sensitive to get whatever vitamin D we can. I hope you bear with me with this metaphor. So when that eclipse starts to go away and the markets open up and the borders open up, we will be stronger and more robust, and we will have earned that sunlight, and we will have earned our prosperity. So whatever it is that I want out of life, I'm going to get it. I promise myself that I'm going to fulfill my wildest dreams. And how do I know that? Well, it's with gratitude, because of all the crazy things that have happened in my life, all the pain that I've gone through. For me to even just be sitting here and sitting alone in my apartment room just to be able to share this message with you, these thoughts with people, some of you who are my friends and some of you who are complete strangers, maybe some of you who I will never meet, just as how I've been influenced by other people who have moved me to tears with their podcasts or their audiobooks with inspiring, amazing, practical wisdom, knowledge stories. For me to be able to also contribute after years of consuming content, this is such an amazing privilege. Like every single moment is a blessing, and every single opportunity, even this moment, is an opportunity to become more grateful, for an opportunity to have more resolve, for an opportunity to become better in some way. I felt like most of my life was like a really bad dream, like a nightmare, and then I just woke up from it. I just felt like most of my life has been this dark eclipse. And then as of the past several recent years, that eclipse has gone away and my life has just become brighter and brighter and brighter. And it continues to get brighter even in these dark Corona times. This really isn't that bad. There are times in my life where I was so miserable, like I wanted to just kill myself. I remember there was a week back in college, I was just so miserable that I didn't eat food for a week. I was fasting and praying to God and begging God to kill me. And now, like, my life is so great. I was just like, wow, what was I making such a big deal of? 10 years ago, I was living in a dark nightmare. It was like a prison of my own mind. And now I feel more liberated than ever. And I feel like the only thing that's really stopping me is myself. And I am even gaining territory on myself. It's a wonderful feeling. And I just want to spread this joy and this gratitude and love with everyone around me on a day-to-day basis. And I want to exude more of that because I know what it's like to feel hopeless. I know what hopelessness feels like, and that was my life. But the pain that I went through, it made me more real, and it made me a more compassionate person, and it made me care about other people, and it made me more empathetic. So I'm really grateful for all the crap that I went through in the past in a weird way. I think it's actually why I became like a club and party promoter, because I love connecting with people, and I love making people smile. I love making people laugh and dance. And I want everyone to smile and laugh and dance with me. So that's like my dream. My dream is for us to all be partying together and having a great time. So let me cut to the chase and wrap up here just by saying I love myself. I love my life. I love the universe. I love all humanity. And I love you. I have a conditional love for people in my life, people who have done great things for me, who I really appreciate and admire. That's more of a conditional love. I love my brothers and my parents for what they've done for me. And I also have an unconditional love for all humanity, for people who I haven't even met. And I think that's 100% authentic and true to me. So whoever you are, even if I don't know you, I love you. And I hope that for you, whether or not you love yourself or not, that you will continue to grow in love for yourself and for other people as well, because that's how we're going to beat this coronavirus. The meme of the coronavirus, we're going to have to beat this meme of fear with the meme of love. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. Thank you for being a part of me. Thank you for being alive and for being part of this dream that we share together. I hope you find the golden corona lining of 2020 for yourself. And please tune in again for the next Mime Time. Thank you. God bless you. I love you. Peace.